What if the deadliest shipwreck in medieval history wasn't caused by a storm, by pirates, or by bad luck, but by wine? On the 25th of November, 1120, the fastest ship in the English fleet left the coast of Normandy, carrying almost 300 people. Within hours, all but one of them were dead. And the single man who survived wasn't even supposed to be on the boat. This is the story of the White Ship, the wreck that never should have happened, and the one mistake that ended up handing the English crown to the wrong family for the next 18 years. King Henry I had just spent months settling business in Normandy, and he was heading home to England. He didn't sail on the White Ship. He took an earlier vessel. The White Ship was reserved for his son. William Adelin was 17 years old, the only legitimate son of the king, and the one man standing between England and total chaos. He boarded the newest, fastest ship in the fleet, captained by Thomas Fitzstephen, whose own father had once captained the ship that carried William the Conqueror across this same channel, 54 years earlier. But before the ship left port, the crew asked William for wine, and he gave it to them, generously. By the time anyone thought to leave, the ship was packed with drunk nobles and an even drunker crew, so drunk that one future king of England, Stephen of Blois, took one look at the chaos and quietly walked off the boat before it ever left the dock. He had no idea that decision would one day put a crown on his head. When the White Ship finally launched, it was already dark. The crew wanted to prove they were faster than the king's own ship, which had left hours earlier. So they rowed as hard as they could, swifter than an arrow. One chronicler wrote, straight into a submerged rock just outside the harbor. The hull tore open. The ship rolled and began to sink almost instantly. William Adelin made it into a small lifeboat. He was safe. He could have rowed away and lived, but then he heard his half-sister Matilda screaming from the water, so he turned back. The moment he did, dozens of drowning passengers grabbed for the boat, trying to climb in to survive. The small lifeboat capsized under their weight and swallowed everyone in it, William included. Of the roughly 300 people on that ship, exactly one lived to tell the story. His name was Berold, a butcher from Rouen. He wasn't nobility. He was only on board chasing money that some of the passengers owed him, and while everyone around him drowned in heavy, fur-lined robes, Berold survived the freezing water, clinging to a broken mast, wearing cheap sheepskin, the kind of coat too poor for anyone to have noticed him wearing it. It was the only thing that kept him alive long enough to be rescued at dawn. The ship's captain, Thomas Fitzstephen, apparently surfaced after the wreck. When he learned the king's son hadn't survived, he let himself sink back under the water, rather than face Henry with that news. For 3 days, nobody told the king. Nobody wanted to be the one. When he finally heard, chroniclers claimed he collapsed to the floor, and according to legend, King Henry I never smiled again for the rest of his life. But grief wasn't the real problem. Succession was. Henry had dozens of children, but only one legitimate son, and that son was now at the bottom of the English Channel. So Henry made every noble in his court swear an oath to accept his daughter, Matilda, as queen when he died. They swore it, and almost every single one of them broke that promise. When Henry died 15 years later, the crown didn't go to Matilda. It went to Stephen of Blois, the very same man who had walked off the White Ship that night, drunk but alive. He seized the throne before Matilda could even cross the channel. What followed was 18 years of civil war. English chroniclers simply called it the Anarchy. Castles burning, nobles switching sides for profit, and a country so lawless that people said Christ and his saints slept through the whole thing. One drunken decision to leave port after dark had done what no invading army had managed in 50 years. It ended the Norman dynasty's grip on England and started a war that lasted almost 2 decades. Berold the Butcher lived to be an old man. He was probably the only person on that ship who ever got to tell his grandchildren exactly what happened that night, and the only reason any of us know the details at all. If stories like this one small decision, quietly reshaping an entire kingdom, are the kind of thing you're into, there's a lot more history exactly like it waiting for you here.